For the first time in American history, as you know, a former U.S. president is about to surrender himself to law enforcement and appear in court on criminal charges. Donald Trump flew to New York this afternoon and is expected to appear before a Manhattan judge tomorrow on about 30 counts, including felonies related to business fraud and campaign finance violations stemming from alleged hush money payments that he made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Now, since the news first broke of his coming indictment, the former president has come out in full force against the case, urging his supporters to protest who he's called the, quote, corrupt Manhattan district attorney, the Trump-hating judge, and the charges he's amounting to election interference. And though we won't know what the exact charges of the contents of the indictment are until the official filing is unsealed after Trump appears in court, unless there's a leak, he and his attorneys are already mounting a full-throated defense.
We know that this was based on Stormy Daniels. We know that this was dismissed by the FEC and this was dismissed by federal prosecutors 7 years ago. We know what's in it. It's a bunch of garbage.
Election interference through prosecutors is the new ballot stuffing for the Democrat Party.
So far, the American people don't seem to think so. 60% of adults in the U.S. support these charges, according to a new CNN poll, CNN SSRS poll that was out today. Republicans are staunchly against the charges, with nearly 80% disapproving, and more than 54% saying they strongly disapprove. Now, we all remember what happened the last time Trump supporters felt like an election was being stolen from him. So what should we expect this time? I'm joined by former Massachusetts Public Safety Secretary and Suffolk County Sheriff Andrea Cabral, and Ozzie Palomo, founding partner and managing director of Chartwell Strategy Group. Welcome to both of you. Andrea, I want to start with you. It could be both politically motivated and justified that the charges be brought, right? It isn't. I keep hearing people talk about this as a one of or the other, right? Oh, it's politically motivated. It doesn't mean anything, or it's justified. It's got nothing to do with politics. It can be both.
Well, it can be. I think in this case, you're talking about someone, and I've said this about Trump many, many times. He was never a real president, but he was always a criminal. I mean, Trump's criminality goes way, way, way back to his real estate developer days. And this idea, I mean, the allegation that comes from him and his attorneys and his supporters that this is a politically motivated prosecution rings hollow when you stop to think that this was the first step he took, or one of the first steps he took, to rig the election, to change the outcome of the election. Because had people known that he had paid off Stormy Daniels, because that happened before the election, it might have had a negative impact on his ability to be elected. So the election rigging in the form of this payoff and the cover-up that followed is pretty much, sort of a seminal step toward him rigging an election in his favor. And to say that it's politically motivated when you have politicians around the country that get elected, have campaign contributions, spend that money in certain ways, and have to be held accountable for how that money is spent and how they note that it has been spent, that's a very, very big deal to say that the president is exempt from all of that. So I think that rings hollow. I think that accusation rings hollow.
Ozzie, I was talking to a law professor who was also a former prosecutor, I think, and I asked the same question about the politics. And had this been in the federal court instead of a state court, would there have been fewer claims of politics because the person isn't elected? And she pointed out that federal court judges are appointed by elected officials from parties. Is it muddying the waters of really looking at the issue every time someone says this is politically motivated?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the fact that, District Attorney Bragg campaigned on becoming district attorney, getting elected district attorney, on going after Donald Trump. I think these are charges that were, as referenced before, were dismissed or failed to look upon by the Department of Justice. The FEC failed to look at this. And Alvin Bragg's own predecessor in Cy Vance also took a look at this and decided not to. I also think that Alvin Bragg was, kind of hesitated to go after President Trump on these charges, and I think there was some political motivation and pressure on him to follow through on this. But again, he's trying to, take something that is largely a federal issue becoming a state issue. He's looking at a misdemeanor and trying to expand and have it become a felony. So you really can't deny the political undertones that Alvin Bragg has taken on this. That goes without saying, and I think it's pretty evident to anyone who sees this.
You want to respond to that?
I disagree with that. I disagree with it on the basis that, first of all, Cy Vance accepted a $25,000 campaign contribution and then sort of made the decision that he wasn't going to go after the Trump children or go after Donald Trump. I do think that Bragg wanted to take a look at this anew. And I think that certainly makes a difference. If you're the DA and you're going to own a prosecution, you want to dot, every I and cross every T. But every single allegation against Trump is characterized as politically motivated. And after a while, it's the boy who cried wolf. Everything can't be politically motivated. Every prosecution, every investigation, every allegation can't be politically motivated. And we have to face the fact that he's done many of these things, if not all of them.
Ozzy, is it a bit of a manifestation on the Trump and Republicans' part? The lock her up, the accusing everybody of being in the tank for the Democrats, always pushing forward this narrative that you can't trust the government unless, of course, they are the government. Ignoring the fact that there are problems with our justice system, deep problems with our justice system when it comes to black and brown people, black and brown men. But, they don't recognize that problem, but they now think that Trump has a problem. It's a lot of spinning plates here to try and keep a narrative straight.
It's a lot of spinning plates, but I think you kind of deal with the spinning plate that's before you, and this is one that's obviously, again, to most, they can see the political undertones. I won't talk for Cy Vance and, question his political judgment on whether or not he persecuted this based on a campaign payment. But the fact of the matter is this is the issue that Donald Trump is facing, and Alvin Bragg is giving him every political motivation to kind of poke holes at this. He's got, President Trump has bigger problems. There are other cases out there that I would argue are probably much stronger with much severe consequences. But to go after a 6-year claim that this is payment hush money, doing it now, I think is a lot of the questions that are being asked.
We don't have Cy Vance in person, but we do have a little bit of Cy Vance sound. Cy Vance, of course, the former Manhattan District Attorney.
I would be mindful of not committing some other criminal offense like obstruction of governmental administration, which is interfering with or by threat or otherwise the operation of government. I think that could take what perhaps we think is not the strongest case. When you add a count like that, put it in front of a jury, it can change the jury's mind about the severity of the case that they're looking at.
Andrew, let's talk a little bit about the call to action that it has been happening, the attacks on the law enforcement, the district attorney, the folks, the judges. I am both torn between giving it too much attention and then torn that I'm not giving it enough attention. As we know, January 6th seemed to happen right under everybody's noses, and then some people were shocked of the severity of the attack. Where are we now? What should we be doing in terms of the call for Trump and others that they're giving for people to protest regarding this indictment?
Well, I think it should be taken very, very seriously. We've had numerous examples of what can happen when it goes completely unchecked. I think everybody is sort of mindful of that. I also think that time has passed. I think there are more people that are aware of the level of sort of grift, and more people are fed up with the level of corruption. So that I'm not at all sure that you're going to get this kind of response that he was able to gin up on January 6th. I think it will be, somewhat less than that. And also people are mindful that the DOJ prosecuted as many people as they can find. They're still seeking people out and prosecuting them for the January 6th insurrection. So it is not a consequenceless choice that people will make if they decide to protest violently. They have the right to protest, certainly under the First Amendment, but to protest violently or to create some sort of a riot situation, I think people are mindful that those prosecutions will follow.
Ozzy, your take on what people should be saying, lawmakers, Republican lawmakers, to people regarding if they're unhappy that Trump has been indicted?
Yeah, look, I think first and foremost, words, have consequences, and we saw that on January 6th, rightfully so. And I tend to agree. I think most people are cognizant of the fact that I think you are allowed to protest on the First Amendment up to a certain point, making sure that it doesn't cross that line. Now, you've had most Republican leaders say that, actually say it publicly, saying a protest and is welcomed under the First Amendment, but to do it within checks that make sure that there's no harm done. I think, President Trump obviously has a way with words, and it'll be interesting to see if he has issued a gag order, leading into this arraignment to prevent something from happening. So.
Let's take a listen to New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He has a warning for folks who may be coming to the Big Apple.
While there may be some rabble-rousers thinking about coming to our city tomorrow, our message is clear and simple. Control yourselves. New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger.
Andrea, do you think that's enough? Was that strong enough?
I'm not sure. I don't want to criticize it because I think that he's trying to sort of balance his tone, not be too aggressive, but also not be too recalcitrant in terms of telling people to not come. I think ultimately, if people do come and they act out, I think the city will let the actions of those who are supposed to keep order sort of speak for them. So he's issued the warning. He said, don't do it. And it now remains to be seen whether or not that's heeded. But I think he was trying to strike a tonal balance.
Ozzy, let's talk about the politics of this. I mean, we keep saying unprecedented. I think it's going to be unprecedented the number of times that we have said this, and we'll continue to say this. Beside the fact that Trump is obviously a former president, he is a presidential candidate. He's actually one of the few who's really declared in the Republican side. And this isn't the end, right? There may be another indictment in Georgia. There may be an indictment regarding the Mar-a-Lago documents. He's got the trial coming up with Jean Carroll, the defamation trial regarding the rape charge that she's leveled against him. How do Republican candidates run in this chaos and get their message out and get fundraising without getting all of this on them?
Yeah, I think like with all things with Donald Trump, and if you're running against him, you got to thread that line. I think we've talked before, there's about a 25 to 30% of that electorate that's going to be with him no matter what. I think there's a lot of folks that look at this and say, I sympathize with the fact that this is politically motivated. You can't deny that. But I'm not with him because it's a distraction. So I think if you're a candidate, you better have an answer, and you better be able to thread that line as to kind of be able to go after the issue, but not jeopardize losing support with that base, because you're going to need them at some point in the primaries that are up ahead.
Andrew, what should Biden, as he's not a candidate yet, but we expect he is running. What should candidate for re-election Joe Biden be doing or saying, do you think, in response to the indictments, possible plural indictments?
Nothing.
Just stick to his knitting.
That's right. That's right. This is about local district attorneys' offices and the DOJ, and he doesn't have to speak to any of this stuff. And I don't think that he will, because I don't think he wants it to be politicized.
Ozzy, talk to me about some of the poll numbers that are coming out. Now folks are throwing some names in on the Republican side. Liz Cheney, who had not been on the list, is now in a poll, and she's popping up at a 10%, which is above some other folks that are already declared or expected to declare. Asa Hutchinson, he threw his hat in the ring over the weekend. How many Republicans do you think you'll see in the race for the presidency?
Yeah, I think, first of all, that poll that had Liz Cheney, I would call that maybe an outlier. You can't tell the future, but I can surely tell you that the Republican electorate for a primary isn't going to support a Liz Cheney-type candidate for president, but her name's going to be out there. I think the polls today are not going to be the polls that are from a year from now. So I do think you're going to see people kind of bubble up a little bit as they kind of enter the race. They will get a pop from that and be able to kind of register on some of these polls as they continue to go on. I do think the field's going to narrow. We already saw Larry Hogan opt not to race. There's questions about whether or not Glenn Youngkin and Chris Sununu even jump into this. But I do think, this isn't going to deter others from jumping in. We can expect DeSantis to come in sometime after his legislative sessions over sometime in May. I would say that Mike Pence is probably going to jump in. And then maybe some others that look at this as an opportunity to kind of, hit while the president's kind of weak, President Trump's kind of weak, and throw their hat in the ring. But I don't think it's going to be as many as there were in 16, but I don't think, it's going to deter those that have a viable shot to actually jump in.
Andrew, what do you think we're going to see for the list of indictments tomorrow? I mean, I've had a number of conversations with some, not CEOs of the size of Donald Trump or alleged size of Donald Trump's empire, but some people talking to me about, listen, when you accidentally commit IRS tax fraud, sometimes they also hit you with a charge of mail fraud, and sometimes they hit you with another charge just so that you can perhaps plead it down. And some people are concerned that this list of indictments is going to be some small nuts and small, I say that in a relative term, small things that don't really add up to a lot. Do you think there might be some bombshell in this list, or is this just going to be a fully vetted, robust list of indictments?
Well, first I have to warn you, you might lose me. Because I'm running very low on battery here, unfortunately, and I can't charge it, but I'll try to answer very quickly. First of all, it's 32 charges. Grand juries are not called for misdemeanors. They are called for felonies. And the fact that it's 32 charges, even if you take into consideration that wire fraud or mail fraud often accompany federal charges because you have to use the mail or you use, the telephone or whatever it might be to effectuate the crime, that is still an incredibly long list. And what I've been thinking is, in the course of this, between this investigation and the Weisselberg investigation, that it is very likely that they discovered additional criminality, and that's going to be reflected in those indictments. So people, who are sort of saying this is just a misdemeanor trumped up to be a felony, no pun intended, you don't get 32 charges out of a grand jury when there isn't something felonious behind those charges.
Ozzie, what do you think has to happen to break the fever?
Well, to go back on the charges,
please.
I think the onus is on Alvin Bragg that he better have something. As we said earlier today, this is something that the Department of Justice looked at and opted not to prosecute. The FEC looked at it and opted not to go after it, and Cy Vance looked at it and opted not to go after it. So if Alvin Bragg has something, it better be buttoned up and it better be coming in hot and secure, because if this is something that is whittled down or Donald Trump's being able to defeat, it's going to get back, it's going to backfire on them, period. What it's going to take to break through, look, Trump's a phenomenon, and I think he's been able to tap into some anger that the general electorate on the Republican side has been festering for many, many years. That is starting to kind of subside some. You're starting to see some of that support bubble up and kind of go to DeSantis as kind of a Trump-like candidate, so to speak. I'm not sure if that's ever going to break away fully from Donald Trump. It's one of those things where if Donald Trump goes away, maybe Trumpism continues. But the fact of the matter is it's something that 25% of the electorate, on the Republican side is, holding on to.
Andrew, we got 20 seconds. Last words?
It'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow and going forward. I think he's going to try to turn it into a circus. I hope the judge issues a gag order, which he won't be able to follow, but I still hope the judge issues a gag order and tries to maintain some order and decorum around this.
All right, Andrea Cabral, Ozzie Palomo, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate both of your expertise. Thank you. And thanks to your battery, Andrea. Good job.
Thanks.